Architecture of Egypt. The pyramids. What are pyramids? The ancient Egyptian pyramids are some of the most impressive structures built by humans in ancient times. Many of the pyramids still survive today for us to see and explore. Why did they build the pyramids? The pyramids were built as burial places and monuments to the pharaohs. As part of their religion, the Egyptians believed that the pharaoh needed certain things to succeed in the afterlife. Deep inside the pyramid, the pharaoh would be buried with all sorts of items and treasure that he may need to survive in the afterlife. Types of pyramids. Some of the earlier pyramids, called step pyramids, have large ledges every so often that look like giant steps. Archaeologists think that the steps were built as stairways for the pharaoh to use to climb to the sun god. Later pyramids have more sloping and flat sides. These pyramids represent a mound that emerged at the beginning of time. The sun god stood on the mound and created the other gods and goddesses. How big were the pyramids? There are around 138 Egyptian pyramids. Some of them are huge. The largest is the Pyramid of Khufu, also called the Great Pyramid of Giza. When it was first built, it was over 480 feet tall. It was the tallest man-made structure for over 3,800 years and is one of the 7 wonders of the world. It's estimated that this pyramid was made from 2.3 million blocks of rock weighing 5.9 million tons. How did they build them? How the pyramids were built has been a mystery that archaeologists have been trying to solve for many years. It is believed that thousands of slaves were used to cut up the large blocks and then slowly move them up the pyramid on ramps. The pyramid would get slowly built, one block at a time. Scientists estimate it took at least 20,000 workers over 23 years to build the Great Pyramid of Giza. Because it took so long to build them, pharaohs generally started the construction of their pyramids as soon as they became ruler. What's inside the pyramids? Deep inside the pyramids lays the pharaoh's burial chamber, which would be filled with treasure and items for the pharaoh to use in the afterlife. The walls were often covered with carvings and paintings. Near the pharaoh's chamber would be other rooms where family members and servants were buried. There were often small rooms that acted as temples and larger rooms for storage. Narrow passageways led to outside. Sometimes fake burial chambers or passages would be used to try and trick grave robbers. Because there was such valuable treasure buried within the pyramid, grave robbers would try to break in and steal the treasure. Despite the Egyptians' efforts, nearly all of the pyramids were robbed of their treasures by 1000 BC. Facts about pyramid. The Great Pyramid of Giza points very precisely to the north. The pyramids of Egypt are all built to the west of the Nile River. This is because the western side was associated with the land of the dead. The base of a pyramid was always a perfect square. They were built mostly of limestone. There were traps and curses put on the tombs and the pyramids to try and keep robbers out. Did you know these facts about Pyramid of Giza? The Great Pyramid of Giza is the largest of all the Egyptian pyramids and is one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world. It is located around 5 miles to the west of the Nile River near the city of Cairo, Egypt. The Great Pyramid of Giza is part of a larger complex called the Giza Necropolis. There are 2 other major pyramids in the complex, including the Pyramid of Khafra and the Pyramid of Menkaure. It also includes the Great Sphinx and several cemeteries. Why was the Great Pyramid built? The Great Pyramid was built as a tomb for the pharaoh Khufu. The pyramid once held all the treasures that Khufu would take with him to the afterlife. How big is it? When the pyramid was built, it was around 481 feet tall. Today, because of erosion and the removal of the top piece, the pyramid is around 455 feet tall. At its base, each side is approximately 755 feet long. That's well over twice as long as a football field. In addition to being tall, the pyramid is a massive structure. It covers an area of over 13 acres and is constructed with around 2-3 million stone blocks. Each of the stone blocks is estimated to weigh over 2,000 pounds. How long did it take to build it? It took 20,000 workers around 20 years to build the Great Pyramid. Its construction began around 2580 BC, shortly after Khufu became pharaoh, and was completed around 2560 BC. How did they build it? No one is quite sure how the pyramids were built. There are a lot of different theories as to how the Egyptians were able to lift such large stone blocks all the way up to the top of the pyramids. It is likely that they used ramps to move the stones up the sides of the pyramid. They may have used wooden sleds or water to help the stones slide better and reduce friction. Inside the Great Pyramid? Inside of the Great Pyramid are three major rooms: the King's Chamber, the Queen's Chamber, and the Grand Gallery. Small tunnels and air shafts lead to the chambers from the outside. The King's Chamber is at the highest point in the pyramid of all the chambers. It contains a large granite sarcophagus. The Grand Gallery is a large passageway around 153 feet long, 7 feet wide, and 29 feet high. Other pyramids. The two other major pyramids at Giza are the Pyramid of Khafra and the Pyramid of Menkaure. The Pyramid of Khafra was built by Khufu's son, Pharaoh Khafra. It originally stood 471 feet tall, just 10 feet shorter than the Great Pyramid. The Pyramid of Menkaure was built for Khufu's grandson, Pharaoh Menkaure. It originally was 215 feet tall. Interesting facts about the Great Pyramid of Giza: it is thought that the architect of the pyramid was Khufu's vizier named Hemianu. There were three small pyramids next to the Great Pyramid built for Khufu's wives. It was the tallest man-made structure in the world for over 3,800 years until a spire was built on the Lincoln Cathedral in England in 1300. Recent evidence suggests that paid skilled workers built the Giza pyramids, not slaves. Despite its name, archaeologists do not think that the Queen's Chamber is where the Queen was buried. No treasure was found inside the pyramid. It was likely looted by grave robbers over 1,000 years ago. The pyramid was originally covered with flat polished white limestone. It would have had a smooth surface and shone brightly in the sun. These cover stones were removed to construct other buildings over the year. The Sphinx. What is a Sphinx? A Sphinx is a mythological creature with the body of a lion and the head of a person. In ancient Egypt, a lot of times the head was that of a pharaoh or a god. Why were they built? The Egyptians built Sphinx statues to guard important areas such as tombs and temples. The Great Sphinx of Giza. The most famous Sphinx is the Great Sphinx of Giza. It is one of the largest and oldest statues in the world. Archaeologists believe that it was carved around 2500 BC and that the head is meant to be the likeness of the pharaoh Khafra. The Great Sphinx faces the sunrise and guards the pyramid tombs of Giza. How big is it? The Great Sphinx is huge. It is 241 feet long, 20 feet wide, and 66 feet high. The eyes on the face are 6 feet tall, the ears over 3 feet tall, and the nose would have been nearly 5 feet long before it was knocked off. It is carved out of the bedrock in a trench at the Giza site. How did it originally look? Over the past 4,500 years, weather and erosion have taken their toll on the Great Sphinx. It is really amazing that so much of it is left for us to see. The original Sphinx would have looked a lot different. It had a long braided beard and a nose. It also was painted in bright colors. Archaeologists think that the face and body were painted red, the beard was blue, and much of the headdress was yellow. That would have been an amazing sight. What happened to its nose? No one is entirely sure exactly how the nose got knocked off. There are stories that Napoleon's men accidentally knocked off the nose, but that theory has proven untrue as pictures have been found without the nose prior to Napoleon's arrival. Other stories have the nose getting shot off in target practice by Turkish soldiers. Many people now believe that the nose was chiseled off by someone who considered the Sphinx evil. Legend of the Sphinx? The Sphinx partially covered by sand by Felix Bonfils. After the Sphinx was built, over the course of the next 1,000 years it fell into disrepair. The entire body was covered in sand and only the head could be seen. Legend has it that a young prince named Thutmose fell asleep near the head of the Sphinx. He had a dream where he was told that if he restored the Sphinx he would become pharaoh of Egypt. Thutmose restored the Sphinx and later became pharaoh of Egypt. Facts about the Sphinx. There was also a famous Sphinx in Greek mythology. It was a monster that terrorized Thebes, killing all those who could not solve its riddle. It was the Greeks who gave the name Sphinx to the creature. The beard was likely added to the Sphinx during the period of the New Kingdom. A portion of the beard can be seen in the British Museum in London. Efforts are being made to preserve the Sphinx, but it continues to erode. Tomb of the Pharaoh Tutankhamun. Ancient Egypt. During the thousands of years that have passed since the pharaohs were buried in their tombs, treasure hunters and thieves have snuck into the tombs and taken nearly all of the treasure. However, in 1922 one tomb was discovered that was mostly untouched and was filled with treasure. It was the tomb of the pharaoh Tutankhamun. Where is King Tut's tomb? The tomb is in the Valley of the Kings near Luxor, Egypt. This was where the pharaohs and powerful nobles were buried for around 500 years during the history of ancient Egypt. Who found the tomb? By 1914, many archaeologists believed that all of the pharaohs' tombs in the Valley of the Kings had been found. However, one archaeologist named Howard Carter didn't agree. He thought that the tomb of Pharaoh Tutankhamun was still undiscovered. Carter searched the Valley of the Kings for 5 years, finding little. The man funding his search, Lord Carnarvon, became frustrated and nearly stopped paying for Carter's search. Carter convinced Carnarvon to pay for 1 more year. The pressure was on. Carter had 1 more year to find something. In 1922, after 6 years of searching, Howard Carter found a step underneath some old workmen's huts. He soon uncovered a stairway and the door to King Tut's tomb. Inside, discoveries of the tomb included statues, gold jewelry, Tutankhamun's mummy, chariots, model boats, canopic jars, chairs, and paintings. It was an amazing discovery and one of the most important made in the history of archaeology. In all, there were over 5,000 objects in the tomb. It took Carter and his team 10 years to catalog everything. How big was the tomb? The tomb was fairly small for a pharaoh. Archaeologists believe that it was built for an Egyptian noble, but was used for Tutankhamun when he died at a young age. The tomb had 4 main rooms: the antechamber, burial chamber, annex, and treasury. The burial chamber contained the sarcophagus and King Tut's mummy. The mummy was contained in 3 nested coffins. The final coffin was made of solid gold. The treasury contained the king's canopic chest, which held his organs. Was there really a curse? At the time that King Tut's tomb was opened, many people thought that there was a curse that would affect anyone who invaded the tomb. When Lord Carnarvon died from a mosquito bite a year after entering the tomb, people were sure the tomb was cursed. Soon rumors began to spread that increased the belief and fear of the curse. Newspapers reported a curse inscribed on the door of the tomb. A story was told that Howard Carter's pet canary was eaten by a cobra on the day he entered the tomb. It was also said that 13 of the 20 people who were present at the opening of the burial chamber died within a few years. However, these were all just rumors. When scientists look at the number of people who died within 10 years of first entering the tomb, it is the same number as would normally be expected. The Temples of Egypt. Karnak. The Temple of Karnak is the largest and one of the most visited temples of ancient Egypt. It was founded in 3200 BC by the pharaoh Senusret. Building on the temple continued for over 3,000 years throughout the history of ancient Egypt. Around 30 different pharaohs had a hand in the construction of the temple. Karnak is located in southern Egypt in the ancient city of Thebes, inside the modern city of Luxor, Egypt. Luxor. Entrance to Luxor Temple at night. Photo by Carolee. About a mile and a half south of Karnak in Luxor, Egypt is the Luxor Temple. It is located on the east bank of the Nile River. The temple was built around 1400 BC for the god Amun along with his wife Mut and son Khonsu. Each year the temple would host the Opet festival. During this festival the statue of Amun would be paraded from the Karnak temple to Luxor. Abu Simbel. The Abu Simbel temples are located on the southern border of Egypt. They were originally built by the pharaoh Ramses II as a monument to himself and Queen Nefertari. The temples were built between 1264 BC and 1244 BC. They were relocated in 1968 so they would not be flooded by the Aswan Dam. Temple of Edfu. The Temple of Edfu is located on the west bank of the Nile River in the city of Edfu, Egypt. It was constructed during the Ptolemaic dynasty between 237 BC and 57 BC. The temple was dedicated to the falcon god Horus. Temple of Hatshepsut. This is a mortuary temple built by the female pharaoh Hatshepsut around 1470 BC. The architecture of this temple is considered unique and a turning point in the history of Egyptian architecture. The temple was dedicated to the sun god Amun-Ra. It is located to the northeast of the city of Luxor, Egypt near the Valley of the Kings. Temples of Philae. The temples of Philae are built on an island in the Nile River. There are a number of temples on the island built over a long period of time by the pharaohs, the Greeks, and the Romans. The main temple on the island is dedicated to the goddess Isis. Kamombo. The Temple of Kamombo is located in southern Egypt in the town of Kamombo. It was built during the Ptolemaic dynasty between 180 BC and 47 BC. The southern part of the temple was dedicated to the crocodile god Sobek and the northern portion to the falcon god Horus. Temple of Seti, I. The Temple of Seti I is a mortuary temple built for the pharaoh Seti I around 1280 BC and is located in the city of Abydos, Egypt. It was constructed in the shape of an L and has shrines dedicated to 6 Egyptian gods including Osiris, Isis, Horus, Amun, Ra-Horakhti, and Ptah. There is also a shrine to the deified Seti I.